What is up? I'm going to do a trade recap today, and hopefully this provides some good information for a lot of people of what not to do. So, today was a very interesting day, and if you can see by the name on my chart, Tesla. I've been trading Tesla a lot. So, as far as how today went, I overtraded a little bit. If anybody's been following, the videos and the trading recently, I try to keep trading to a minimum. Less is more. Last month, I only took 20 total trades in the month, and I had a good month just because I'm not exposing myself to potential opportunities where things just go wrong, right? In the market, less amount of time, just for my style, my kind of style. Not saying that everyone should do that, but for me, it works best because it saves me from myself. The more I'm in the market, the more likely I am to potentially make a bad decision and then let something happen that shouldn't, and then before you know it, big loss. And I almost had that today. So just to go through, I'm going to pull up. So I have my trade executions. I took a picture of it just because I'm on my laptop. I shoot the videos from my laptop, not my main trading setup. And as you can see, as of 8:53 a.m., February 6, 2020, I was done. I finished trading at, this is on my time. I live in Salt Lake City, so this is mountain time. So it's really set 9:34, 10:08. So I was done by 10:08. But I ended up taking 3 total trades, which is way more than I normally take. So I overtraded a little bit and lost a little bit of discipline. I ended up taking a short on AMD. That was the very first trade, and this happened to actually be a very good setup. I don't know why I didn't hold it longer. I think I've been so obsessed and focused on Tesla that I quickly got out so I could focus on that. But AMD was gapping down. Had some news from, I think there was an article talking badly about AMD. I don't really care about that. It's down. There's high volume pre-market, so I knew it was in play. Now I'm just looking for a setup. I like opening range breaks. I start with the daily though. So I thought, where could this possibly go if it sells off? I don't think it's going to sell off forever, but just a quick morning pullback. There was a gap fill, right? There was a small gap to fill at 48.10. So I jotted a bright blue line as a gap fill. I thought maybe we could get there. Who knows if we do, but maybe. So this is how it looked off the open. This baby blue line is pre-market lows, and then this brighter blue is gap fill. And I'm now starting to look at with pre-market and without it, and I like this VWAP. So I look at both. And AMD had a great setup. Big red candle, fails to move higher, has pressure because it's gapped down, opening range break. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 5th 1-minute candle, opening range break. My risk was the prior high. So I took it short at like 48.40s, right around there, and my high was off the prior candle, my risk. So I said, if this gets to about 48.70, I want to cut it. And I got a pretty fast move, and I just took it off. I took it off into the 20s. Didn't even really have a real reason to take it off. I just kept peeking at Tesla. I've been trading Tesla so much that I kept peeking at it. And I'm like, I don't want to be in this trade and potentially miss something on Tesla. So let me just get out. So I got a very small winner on that. Very, very small. Almost basically break even. But overall, the setup was great. And had I been a little bit more patient, this was a very nice opening range break and a little bit of momentum. And this went from right around 48.40s all the way to a low of 47.70 on AMD. That's a huge move on AMD. Now, this is where things got a little crazy. Tesla's been absolutely absurd. Yesterday, big sell-off, right? So I thought maybe there is and it was gapping down this morning. It was down pre-market, so I thought maybe there's a chance for second day continuation. I don't think that this thing is going to implode and go way lower. I think a lot of people like the stock. It's very well known now. So there's a lot of people watching it, a lot of funds watching it, and I don't think it's just going to fall apart. But I thought maybe there's a chance that this pulls in a bit. And if you can see on my chart, I have a couple lines for gap fills. There are open gaps at these levels, right? So I just thought maybe those gaps get filled before we go higher. Doesn't mean they have to. Nothing has to happen. But we're gapping down, right? Now it's just about, I'm trying to find a pattern. I took a short on this, and I didn't really have a pattern. I just kind of had a bias. I was very biased in the morning, thinking, all right, I think Tesla's going lower. So rather than just trying to clear my mind, I rarely do this. But today, I had a bias, and I had a bias short, and I was thinking short, and I thought that there was potential that this thing could fill some gaps and maybe have a second day where it bleeds out. So now let's break it down to lower time frame charts, right? And look at the daily. We'll start with the daily, work the way down as far as how I saw. We were gapping below yesterday's candle, big old red candle. So I figured possible continuation. Now it was just about breaking it down and seeing if there was a setup. So on a lower time frame chart, this is kind of a 1 minute, right? That's a 1 minute opening range break. The problem is Tesla options are so spready and nasty now that trying to get in the first minute or two is just, it's not worth it, so I avoided it. But this was a very quick 1 minute opening range break. Candle closes green, starts to roll over, big move from right around 699 all the way to hit a low of like 687. A huge move, right? But I wasn't involved. Did not get involved because I wanted the options to tighten up. So this thing squeezed a little bit, stopped going higher, started to roll over. Realistically, a better short entry would have been in this area. But I was just watching it, watching it. I finally got short on the low of this pullback, anticipating that, hey, if we break the low, I think that this is going to keep going lower. And I'll just pull up my execution. So I got one contract, 670, far out of the money. Paid $13.45, so it wasn't too expensive, right? Trying to anticipate that this is going to go lower, and we'll see how far it goes, and very quickly, this bounced against me. I should have got out in this area. When it quickly reversed, I should have bailed. I did not. I was stubborn, and I held it. And I held it, and I watched it consolidate and slowly move higher, ride the 8, move above the VWAP, and I started to go, this looks like this is going to squeeze. I think I'm wrong. So what I did, and this is what I've talked about in some prior videos that I wanted to be able to do, and I actually executed it today. So I don't think I traded great today. I definitely traded poorly on the short. I held a loser way too long. AMD was okay. I just didn't let it work. And the loser on Tesla was way too big, and I held it for way too long. But what I did is, being that options give you some flexibility to be able to flip, that's what I did. So as it started to get towards the high of day, I jumped into 2 contracts. So I went bigger. I normally don't do this, but this was an opportunity to take advantage of it. I jumped into 2 contracts long at 804. So just as it was about to squeeze over the high, right? So 804 is really 1004. 804 is just, it's mountain time. So right here, I ended up getting long 2 contracts right around 709. And right when I got in long, I ended up closing out my short. So I got out and I closed it at 7. So I took a whack on that and then quickly flipped and was able to ride. And I rode it to, I got out at 808. So it was only about a 4-minute trade, which was super fast, but it squeezed. So the intensity of the move was very aggressive. So I got in around 710-ish on the long, also cut my short, just ate the loss even though it didn't feel good and was much bigger than it needed to be. And then I ended up taking it off at 808. I think I took it off right around 723. So I got about a 12 or a 13-point move on the long, and then obviously you can see Tesla went much, much higher. And woulda, coulda, shoulda, hold it for more. But I think once I saw that I had got all my wins back, or all my loss back, and then made a little bit on top, I just cut the position. And then I told myself, I am done. Take my hands off the keyboard. I was just playing with fire. I'm glad that I was able to switch because that's a clear long at that point, in my opinion, right? A lot of consolidation, but this is just a longer time opening range break up. Fails to go lower, just consolidating, getting tight, and then breaks above the high, opening range break to the upside for a nice win. In all reality, if I was patient, I think I was a little antsy and I had some emotions and I was biased to the short side, that if I had just waited, there was really no clear setup on the short side where I got in. Maybe an opportunity to get in here, but after that, there's no sign of real aggressive selling. So if I had just stepped back and cleared my head, I would have been able to see that, hey, this is looking really good. This is consolidating and looks like it's potentially going to break above the high, start to work its way into the gap, and maybe potentially fill the gap. Once again, nobody knows what something is going to do or what a stock is going to do, but you just have to use the information that's provided, which is the chart and sentiment, in my opinion, to be able to come up with a trading decision. And once this stopped going lower, made a move above the high, opening range break to the upside, long. And I could have avoided having the loser and ultimately having just a small winner on AMD and then a really nice winner on Tesla. So I was lucky enough to get all my losses back and more, but that's short. Even after going on 4 years of about 3.5 years of trading, you still, I mean, it's been a little bit since I've made a really poor decision. Today was an example of a very poor decision, and I got lucky. I was able to clear my head, notice that I'm on the wrong side, not hold on to the short for longer than I had to, and then be able to also have, and the cool thing is I had calls up. So I had the puts, and then I had the calls for the potential that if I'm wrong, flip. I know I've mentioned it in prior videos. This was an example. So even though there was a lot of bad here, the good was that I was able to actually flip and get in at kind of the inflection point where I'm sure a lot of people were getting stopped out or squeezed, and then take advantage of the other side of the trade to be able to recoup my losses and more. I do not want to do this often. I like the idea of kind of being right on that first shot, get a quick move, get out, call it a day, because I know that if I'm constantly flipping, there's going to be a day where you flip and you're wrong on both sides, and then you're just chopped up, and it ends up being a really, really, really bad day. So being very careful about that. But overall, came out alive. And there was some negative, but there was some positive to be able to kind of put everything together and see the other side of the trade and not hold too aggressive a bias and make some money. And that's what it's all about. So just wanted to quickly go over that because, there's a fine line between trading and gambling. And I had my gambling hat on for a short period of time, and then I was able to take it off and go back to trading. And also, the moment that I was done with that Tesla long and I was up on the day, done. Shut my broker. I am done. I do not want to put myself in a position. I could tell emotionally I'm a little off the rocker. I'm done trading. Let's make a video on the recap about what happened and what I can learn from it. So hopefully you can learn a thing or two, because that's just what trading's all about. You're not going to be perfect. And I feel like a lot of people act like they're perfect on social media, especially people who have chat rooms where they're only posting the good, they never post the bad. And I don't care how many years you're in this game, you're still going to make mistakes. Like, nobody's perfect. You're still going to have a loser that is bigger than normal. You're maybe not going to take profits fast enough. You're not going to hold them long enough. It's a very difficult game. The idea is just to figure out what works for you. Don't get into too much trouble, because you cannot avoid a trouble 100%. And then just go about blocking out all the noise and execute on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see everybody in the next video.